So I am sitting down with Troy Farkas, who is the heart and soul of Seacoast Stories. And his podcast is literally a love letter to New Hampshire and the Maine Seacoast. So Troy, I figured we'd get right into it and chat about the live event that's coming up on June 19th at the Word Barn. I know you're having some really special guests, Alyssa and Joanna Kelly and Jay from Flight House. What can fans of the show expect with your live event?
Well, thank you for having me on my podcast again. Such an honor. Really excited for June 19th at the Word Barn. There's a couple things going into this night. So we are celebrating three things. One, this day, June 19th, is 367 days removed from the first episode of Seacoast Stories. So we are celebrating the 1-year anniversary. It is also 2 days before the summer solstice, and I hear the Seacoast is a big fan of summer, so we're going to have a proper kickoff to the summer. And 3, it is also Juneteenth, which is going to be a day that's filled with a lot of celebrations across the Seacoast, of which Joe Kelly will be participating in a lot of. So all of that is, making for a special night, and then these 3 conversations that I'm going to have are special because Jay is the author of the most popular season 2 episode, most popular episode of 2025. So we're going to have him on to celebrate that. Alyssa at the Live Freely Market, runs something that is so unique and so special. And I know you've been there before, and so you can probably co-sign on this. It's just a really great representation of what the Seacoast is all about, supporting local, supporting your neighbors, and celebrating entrepreneurship and, this ride or die support local nature that we have here. So I'm really excited to talk to her and then to talk to Joe, who I know is no stranger to being on stage in front of people. So very excited to hear what she has to say. She'll be making her Seacoast Stories debut, which is very exciting. And then we will also be playing Seacoast Trivia, which was a blast at the press room show we did in January. So we're bringing it back, and we're going to have multiple prizes. I like to integrate as many of the people who have been on Seacoast Stories into the live show as we can. So some of the prizes that we'll be giving out through trivia and in other aspects of the night will come from Flamingo's Coffee Bar, Stage's Restaurant in Dover, Loaded Question Brewing, and that is just the tip of the iceberg. So it should be a really special night. And then Kira Liu from WOKQ, who I also had on the show this year, will be co-hosting for several parts of the night. So get your tickets now. Should be a really special night.
It feels like if you are a part of the Seacoast, you have to be there. Everyone's going to be there.
Basically, all your friends are going to be there.
Yeah, everyone I know is going to be there, so I've got to be there.
Yeah, it'll be the thing to do. I can't wait to see you all.
Yeah, it'll be great. So it seems like you've mentioned many times that the show is about connection, bringing people together, as is evident with the event that you're having on June 19th. And so I'm wondering, I know that you've told the show now that you became a yoga teacher, so congratulations. So I think the listeners would love to know what got you into yoga and how does it help you with the show?
Yeah, so I started practicing yoga when I was 15, way back when I was a hardcore athlete. My high school basketball program in upstate New York was very intense year round. It demanded all of you before school practices, after school practices, summer 6 a.m. practices when school wasn't in session. It was absolutely crazy. And I wanted to get on the varsity team as a sophomore, and to impress the varsity coach, I knew that they did yoga after some of their practices. They did P90X yoga with Tony Horton. So I was just like, I'm going to start doing P90X yoga before I make it to varsity so I can impress them and know what I'm doing. And so I just started doing yoga when I was 15. And from the ages of 15 to 25, it remained a regular part of my life, but pretty much only for the physical component to it, just to be a good counter to all of my other physical fitness activities that I partake in, just to, stay really flexible and to get a workout without really getting like a really intense workout, like a long run or a lift session or a HIIT session. And so it stayed in the athletic realm. But then when I found a studio in London was when I was living there was when I really started to unlock the other parts of it. And then when I moved here and found Three Bridges in downtown Portsmouth, that's when it really, when the full picture of yoga became very clear to me and all of the benefits that it has beyond just the physical. There's actually so much more that goes into it that I never would have thought about. And so I basically fell in love with Three Bridges and the community there. And I felt seen and cared for there. And all of that has to do with the owner, Stephanie, who is someone, she's the reason why I'm still on the Seacoast. She was the one who scooped me up when I needed someone to scoop me up. And I'm forever grateful for her and all the love and support that she gives me. And so I took up yoga teacher training last year, really at an inflection point in my life when my career, I could tell, wasn't going the way that I wanted it to, my actual day job outside of Seacoast Stories. And I realized something needs to change here. The universe is sending me all of these signs. I love this yoga thing. I love Three Bridges. I love Stephanie. I just want to spend more time in the studio and with Stephanie. And I think this would really help deepen my practice. And, I also wanted just to do something hard and difficult and be a student again and get in that kind of setting. I used to thrive in that kind of setting. And so when I started teacher training last September, I didn't really have any interest in teaching. If I did, it was maybe, I'll do a pop-up here at North Country Cider. I'll do a pop-up at Treeline Outfitters, but I won't latch on to a studio. Just be a good, fun thing to add to the resume. But then when I went on the yoga retreat with Sarah Olson and Stephanie in Mexico in January, when I was really immersed in yoga for 7 days straight, that was when the light bulb went off in my head where I was like, I have to do this. I can't have this knowledge and not share it. And I can't have, these skills that I have of performing and being in front of people and bringing people together. I kind of have a skill set actually perfectly tailored to it. And I'm now kicking myself that this idea of becoming a yoga teacher had never surfaced to me before, because it's really a combination of everything that I've ever loved and I've been passionate about. You know me, Alex, I'm a history nerd, and there's few things that, have been around longer than yoga. There's a deep historic component to it. There's a philosophical component to it, deeply tied to Buddhism and the Buddha and all these things that I've always been fascinated by. Of course, the physical component to it, the meditation component to it, the performance part of it and being in front of people. There's just so many elements to it that are actually everything that I've ever wanted to do. At one point I wanted to be a personal trainer. At one point I wanted to be a history teacher. And this really is the bringing together of all of those different components of myself. So very excited to start teaching here. I've done a couple classes. Got some auditions in the works as well. So really can't wait to see where that takes me.
Awesome. So yoga's part of your evolution. I'm wondering what else we can look for in terms of evolution for season 3. So how will the show evolve for season 3?
Yeah. So season 1 was really just the launching of the podcast. So that was June 24 to December 24. Season 2, from this January through this June, was really the launching of the business of Seacoast Stories and the launching of the getting people together, which is also a big part of what I'm trying to do here. So that was with, the Press Room Live event. And then we also launched monthly Hangouts is what I've been calling. If anyone has any ideas for what to call it, that'd be great. So that's been, I just taught a group yoga class for my listeners at Three Bridges. We've had a dinner at Ornell's Barbecue, and then did the bar crawl in the West End of Portsmouth, all of which was so much fun. And we have much bigger events plans or in the works. The next one being the live podcast at the Word Barn, but also in the works is a dating night, a dating show of some kind. Several people have been calling upon me to do this. So we soft launched events in season 2. We're going to have bigger events in season 3. Again, aiming for every month, because I think that's a good cadence that is manageable. Expect that to happen. Expect the deepening of the business and of the brand. Expect some video episodes. Not every episode will be a video episode. It will be on a case-by-case basis. I put out a poll a few weeks ago. Listeners, do you want video episodes? And it wasn't like a uniform yes. There was actually more people are cool with audio only, but some people did say it would be nice to have the option. So I will give some people the option at some point. Expect some really big conversations with people who have really big voices on the Seacoast and beyond. And you can expect the expansion of the brand to more than just a podcast. When I started Seacoast Stories, I was very conscious of not going down all of the different rabbit holes that you can when you have a podcast. And, my job at Spotify, we have social strategies, we have YouTube strategies, we have all sorts of things around a podcast that are like not the actual podcast itself. And so as a one-man band here for most of this, I made the decision early. I am just focusing on making a good podcast and nothing else. The social media will just be like an afterthought. The other things around it will be an afterthought. I've got the podcast part of it down. I'm now ready to expand the brand beyond that. So this could be me making appearances at events, Seacoast Stories sponsoring other events that are happening in town. This could be more social media, more YouTube stuff that is not directly related to the podcast, but more directly related to some of your favorite Seacoast spots. So these are all things that are in the works. Seacoast Stories is going to be more than just a podcast in season 3.
Sounds like there's a lot brewing.
There always is.
So I think our listeners want to know, what's the most powerful lesson you've learned from one of your guests on season 2 that stuck with you personally?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. So I'm going to work through this in real time. So the one with Ankati Day, who is a local yoga teacher, and I have a bias toward these conversations. I love talking to the yoga people. The one with Ankati Day, afterwards, I was like, Ankati, that was amazing. Give me a hug. The same thing for Gabby Kelly, the Prophet Mama. We talked for 2 hours. With Max Pruna of La Melita Coffee, we talked for like 2 hours. These were all amazing conversations. And if I could extract one lesson, I'll go with something that I took away from my conversation with Max from La Melita. I would say that his life, he is the craziest story, coming from the country of Colombia and, escaping a war-torn, or not war-torn, like the street. There was a big like drug lord in Colombia at the time that made it a very unsafe place to live. And then he came to the US, to New Hampshire of all places, was working in Boston, hated a job, got into real estate, and then fell into the coffee industry, and then like met all sorts of people that influenced his life. And then La Melita happened. In all of that, I would say I've learned that it's totally okay to pivot. It's totally okay to change course. And that really the mark of a well-lived life is your life going in through all these unexpected phases. I want at any point in my life to be able to say, Alex, if you had a crystal ball and you told me 2 years ago that I would be doing what I'm doing, where I'm doing it, surrounded by the people, like if you had told me that, I wouldn't believe it. I don't believe in 5-year plans. I don't believe in 3-year plans because I want it to change. I want it to constantly evolve. I don't want to pigeonhole myself into some vision. I want to constantly be evolving. And so I think like with Max and probably many other guests I've had on the show as well, you just go what feels good in your body. You just follow your heart. And so right now, if you had told me 2 years ago that I'd be doing what I'm doing, where I'm doing, if you had told me that like last Thursday I'd be emceeing a charity fashion show and then I'd be going out for tacos, which I hate tacos, like with Alyssa, with this woman who owns this weird indoor market. That's so cool. And then the next day I'd be going to ecstatic dance. And then the next day I would be flying to Nashville to meet my idol. Like I wouldn't have believed you. And so I think that's so cool.
Perfect timing to segue and selfishly ask.
Okay.
How has life been post life activation? So for those who don't know, I did a life activation for Troy.
And what is that?
It's an ancient healing modality that's thousands of years old, and it assists with, basically, it sounds silly, but activating your life. So helping you to feel more alive, helping with alignment. How's that going?
Yeah. We did this. Did we do this like last October? Does that sound right to you?
Last fall. Yeah.
Yeah, last fall. So, it's not like a night and day difference. It's not you get the life activation and the next day you're like, whoa, I feel so different. Everything has fallen into place. But I think it's more, and I wonder if this is the experience that you commonly have with your clients. It just slowly, subtly, things just kind of start falling into place and you feel more aligned and you feel more confident in what you're on this earth to do. And so I've noticed since that life activation that things have just kind of started happening for me. Things have, and you actually said to me after it, you're going to notice if you think about someone, they're going to text you. Or if you think about someone, you're going to see them, which that happens all the time now since you told me that. Literally yesterday, I was thinking about someone. 3 minutes later, I saw them in Hannaford.
Excellent.
Things like that happen all the time here. So since that life activation, things like that have happened, weird coincidences, but also so many amazing things have happened that, again, I wouldn't have believed would have happened 2 years ago. And it's so freaking cool. So everyone go get that damn life activation at Empowering Path.
Yes. Thanks, Troy. So you've been really frank with your listeners about how the show is a huge undertaking that requires a lot of editing, a lot of your time, right? You have a job outside of this. What's a challenge you're currently facing with the growth of the show, and how do you plan to overcome it?
Yeah, great question. All of that extra work, by the way, is self-imposed. There's a lazy way to do a podcast, and a lot of people do that. I just have very high standards, and so I put myself through the struggle every week of being up until 1 a.m. on Sunday, finishing the show for Monday morning at 5 a.m. That's self-imposed, and every week I'm like, why do I do this? Can I just cut corners? And then I don't. Challenge that is sprouting up. I was saying this to someone yesterday, this situation. I got a DM from a local brand asking, hey, can we send you this product? And I was like, okay, do I just accept the product? What are the strings attached? How do I navigate this conversation? And then my friend was like, okay, so like you're an influencer now. You're like, this is influencer marketing. I was like, huh. I guess I'm now entering that realm, Seacoast influencer, which sounds so cringy. But I guess navigating, these are the growing pains that I'm grateful and fortunate to have. But how do I navigate people asking things of me? I am now getting asked to promote events, getting asked to come to events, getting asked to do X, Y, and Z for people now that I have a real following. And so navigating those, I've just made a new hire. Welcome Stephanie to the Seacoast Stories team, a different Stephanie. And she is very excited to handle these messages and requests on my behalf. Because as the people pleaser that I am, I want to support everyone, say yes to everything, but I cannot say yes to everything and to everyone, and I cannot do everything for free, because I am trying to run a business here, and I also have to guard against being taken advantage of, which is a thing that happens as well. So Stephanie will be handling more of those conversations so that she can, remove me from the equation, because I want to protect all the relationships as much as I can. And I also want to just focus on the creative of the show as much as possible.
So as you know, when you give in life, you often get back. And so I'm curious, what you've given so much to the Seacoast. What has the Seacoast Stories community given back to you?
I really started Seacoast Stories really just to make friends. That's not true, but it's been an amazing byproduct of this show. So that's what it's given back to me first and foremost, is just the amount of amazing relationships that I have in my life now. Alex, you're a direct product of Seacoast Stories. You DM me, I had to meet your, appearance fee for you to come on the show. I'm totally kidding. Then you came on the show, and then we become friends to the point where you picked me up at the airport at Logan at 1 a.m. a few weeks ago. Yes, thank you very much for doing that. And so it's things like that. Like, that's the test of a real friend, is who's the person that will get you at the airport at 1 a.m. You're my number one choice for the future. Congratulations if I'm in this situation again. But I can confidently say there's 15 other people in my life who would do that too, which is pretty incredible. So the friendships, the relationships, the amount of support I have, the amount of nice messages I get from people that I don't know who listen to the show, the amount of run-ins I have with people in the area who, know me and know the show, and it means something to them. That's what it's given back to me. And I couldn't ask for anything more than that.
Beautiful. What are I know that you said, it's hard to see the future. It's hard to see like 5 years from now, but I think the listeners do want to know, what are your wildest dreams for the podcast? Like the wildest dreams, like we're thinking big. So what's your big vision?
You want the big vision.
I want the big vision.
Okay. So as I alluded to a few minutes ago, in season 3, Seacoast Stories will become more than just a podcast. So in my craziest, wildest vision of the show, here's the deal. Okay. So the podcast, as you know and love it, is what it is on Monday mornings. This is a local business owner, a person with a story to tell, a person who owns something that the people care about. Or I'm also going to get moving forward into more kind of Seacoast topical discussions. Anytime I've done that, that's performed really well. You guys really liked it. For example, the conversation I had recently with Andrew Simonis of Simonis Realty and Nate from the Chamber, where we talked about why all these Portsmouth businesses are closing. So we're going to have more topical conversations as well, perhaps less storytelling conversations. So expect more things like that to come in the future. So that's Monday episodes. I also want a Thursday episode, a live stream on the Seacoast Stories YouTube channel. Imagine your Seacoast morning talk show, your Today Show type, but for the Seacoast. We don't really have anything like that. So that would be me and a co-host, TBD. I'm subtly on the hunt for a co-host. No one knows it yet. Where we chit chat about the weekend to come on the Seacoast. There's always events happening. There's a wellness event, there's a Live Freely market, there's a Strawberry Bank event, there's a charity event, there's a fashion show. There's always something going on. So who is the person that's throwing the big event on the Seacoast that weekend? Can we get them on to come on the show to talk about that? And then me and my co-host, will have our own personalities, and the audience will really get to know us. So maybe we're talking about our own respective Seacoast stories and the things that we're working on, and we'll make fun of each other and have a banter, take much more kind of like listener engagement, taking in real time questions, all sorts of things. So that's the vision for the show there. Speaking to the YouTube component of it, I would like to do more kind of like video series that are not a podcast, but are like, okay, do I go to Ornell's Barbecue and make a 6-minute video, diners, drive-ins, and dive style, where Will from Ornell's takes me into the back, and while he's cooking up his brisket or whatever, he's kind of talking to me about what he's doing, taking me through the process. So highlighting businesses in that way with that visual storytelling component to it. And then I also envision there will definitely be a website to Seacoast Stories in season 3. That is something that I need to happen. So I also envision, I don't want to be like a Seacoast newspaper. I don't really care to tell you about the thing that is being built and this thing is happening on the bridge. I would rather tell you about, the story a couple weeks ago in Seacoast Online about Lainey and Lou Exeter closing after 10 years. Like, that's like a human interest story, a business that people really care about. There's no reason why I can't be the one at Seacoast Stories or my team to get that story and to write about it. So kind of like Seacoast businessy stories that you would read. That is something that I'm deeply fascinated by as well. And then the expansion of events as well, kind of like that dating show that I was talking about. And then I also want to have a studio, like a nice studio. I know exactly where, Harbor Place, overlooking the Piscataqua River, where like the bridge is in the background. That would just be the dream. Now I obviously need lots of money to fund this. So the expanding of the business as well, which sponsorships, which we launched this year, I need to do a good job of getting the word out that like, A, this even exists as an option, and B, why it's advantageous to you, whether you're a big Seacoast brand or small Seacoast brand, why it's a good idea to partner with us. So we'll have sponsorships as a revenue source. There will be options for direct listener or consumer support as well, where you get certain benefits just for you for subscribing or paying whatever monthly or yearly dues that there are. Merch would be another stream of income, and then public speaking appearances for me, or public appearances of some kind, or covering events of some kind, like I did with the fashion show. So these would all be like the business side of it to support the content side of it, and the eventual staff that I would like to have. I would love to have like a video editor, a camera guy or girl, so that I can be removed from like the production side of it as much as possible. To be honest, I've done so much of that in my career. I've published close to 2,000 podcast episodes. I don't need to press publish anymore. If someone else could do that, that would be great.
You ready for your rapid fire round?
Oh boy, please.
All right, here we go. All right, Troy, give us one word to describe the people of the Seacoast.
Welcoming.
Favorite yoga pose?
Yes. I love anything involving eagle. So this could be eagle arms or eagle legs. So you can take, you can be in a warrior 2 pose, and you can do like an eagle bind with the arms. I love anything eagle. The eagle representing freedom, which I like. I love just freedom and being able to do anything anytime I want, being able to move in which direction at any time I want. Eagle is very representative of me, I feel like.
Seacoast dish that you've been craving lately?
Oh gosh, yes, great question. I'm a huge cinnamon roll guy, and every time, as a diabetic, I never get the cinnamon rolls. Very seldom do I. So anytime I go into a Port City Coffee Roasters, an Elephantine Bakery, a Laney and Lou, the cinnamon rolls just stare me in the face, and I want them. So I haven't really had them, but I think about them all of the time. So I'm often craving that. And then I also crave nachos at the Goat all of the time, of course, pulled pork nachos. And then the brisket at Ornell's Barbecue, I think about a lot as well.
I was going to ask you where your ideal location was for a studio, but you beat me to it.
Yep.
So ideal dream guest in your studio.
Oh, wow. I'm afraid to say this one because I don't know if this is possible, but this is, no, I can't say it. Ideal dream guest. You know who I've always wanted to have on? And this is like tangentially related to the Seacoast. When I talk about Seacoast stories, people love to like correct me and say like, oh, like that person's not from the Seacoast. They can't be on the show. I'm like, the Seacoast is really, that's the hook for the show, but it's also, we can talk about people and stories that the Seacoast cares about as well. So that's the White Mountains, that's Portland, that's bumfuck Maine, that's Boston as well. So this guy, is from Boston and he vacations in Maine, and that's Dana White, who is the president of the UFC. Which I've worked, very closely with the UFC for a number of years, and I've never met him, and I've always wanted to. So I would just love to have a conversation with him in Portsmouth. I think that'd be really cool.
Something small that makes your day.
Text messages from Alex Bynum.
Aw.
Actually, kind of yes. Text messages from, like the random text messages from the people whom I've built very close relationships with. You've sent me a have a good day text randomly before. Text from you, text from Stephanie, my yoga teacher, text from my dear friend Kate, or from Alyssa from Live Freely. Of course, I'm naming all women because that's all I ever hang out with. But I'm sure there's, Cody from Treeline. You know, he sent me a very nice message the other day, unsolicited. So little messages like that of support of me or the show, or just like having a nice day. And I would recommend anyone do that for someone special in your life. So those are small things that really have a big impact.
Your hope for the Seacoast.
For the construction to be finished on Islington Street. I mean, what is going on with that? What are we doing? Why every single summer? Why 10 months a year, every year? And what are you even accomplishing? I swear every week you're digging up the road, causing all sorts of detriment to the businesses on those streets. I feel so badly for Cafe Killam and the kitchen who lose business because of this construction. And then me as a biker and as a pedestrian having to weave through all of these big tractors and all of these people. I'm sick of it. What are you accomplishing? And when is the work ever going to be done? I just want some answers.
We all want answers, Troy.
Yes.
We all want
answers. Thank you. And you will find out in an exclusive article on seacoaststories.com in the future.
All right, Troy, let's wrap it up. Okay. So knowing what you know now, what advice would you give your younger 22-year-old self for what's to come?
Chill the fuck out. You don't need to have all of the answers figured out right now. This period in your life is for experimentation, for doing stupid stuff, and for just going in whatever direction is thrown at you. You don't need to have your entire life figured out right now. You don't need to have every answer to every question. And like, things are going to change. You're going to evolve as a person. What you want today may be different than what you want 5 years from now. I mean, the vision of a great life at age 21 for me is vastly different than what it is at age 29. So I would have told myself that chill out. It's all going to work out. Just keep doing you, keep putting your head down, keep grinding, keep dreaming, keep getting the reps even when no one's watching. Keep believing in yourself. I always believed that I was destined for big things. I never really had any reason to believe that, I never really had any proof that I was doing big things. Other people, might tell me, Troy, like, you worked at ESPN and Spotify and like you did X, Y, and Z. Like, yeah, you did big things. You made it. But all the things I accomplished weren't necessarily the things that I wanted to accomplish. They were actually just kind of like cool side things that happened, but were never the main thing that I wanted to accomplish. So I would just tell them everything's going to work out just fine. Don't stray from being who you are. And take a chill pill.
You heard it here first. Thank you, Troy, for being on your show today. We appreciate you. Everybody come out to the Word Barn on June 19th.
Will you be there?
Of course I'll be there.
Heck yeah.
I bought my ticket like the first day.
I love to do it. Well, I didn't know if you'd be off in Toronto at your weirdo mystery school.
Well, you got lucky you put it in June. So I will definitely be there. And I'm looking forward to season 3.
What's coming up for you the rest of this year? Anything fun?
The rest of this year?
Yeah, how are you growing?
I've already
how are
been
you expanding?
to Japan. I've already been to London, and I just taught in Toronto.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to expanding the spiritual community on the Seacoast. So maybe we'll have to collaborate.
How do you assess the health of the spiritual community on the Seacoast? Where are we at?
How are people
like how open are people to the kinds of things that you're doing?
More and more open.
Okay.
I think the assessment is, are people living in joy on the Seacoast? Are people alive? Are people pursuing what they want to do? Or are they still stuck down in the weight of the muck?
And what do you think?
I think the Seacoast is lighting up, don't you?
I think so.
I think so. I think more and more people are pursuing what they want to do.
Yeah.
Or what lights them up.
Yeah.
I feel like most people I meet, they have like a side hobby or a side hustle.
There's so much entrepreneurship around here and people who are building things or dreaming of building things. And it's really inspiring to be around that kind of energy.
Yeah, there's a lot of great minds and great hearts around here.
Yeah.
So I'm loving it.
Yeah. Everyone go get your life activations.
Yes, please.
Thanks, Alex.
Great. Thanks.